Hello students, this is a recording of our classroom talk before the field trip, and we have some major themes here. One of them is how we are all connected as a Colorado Mountain College community. So here in Continental Divide country, which is also Colorado Mountain College country, we are in the headwaters of some of the largest drainages in the United States. So right now, we are in the Colorado Basin. Today, in particular, we've been in Breckenridge and now we're in Edwards. But we also have campuses in the Arkansas River Basin and in the Yampa Basin. Colorado Mountain College is encompassing a huge resource. And so when we think about our pride and how we're connected, it's by these rivers. And so let's take a look at this. What are we looking at? We are looking at watersheds, okay? And so essentially, what is a watershed? Water collects on the landscape based on the shape of the landscape. And so it's important that we appreciate what we're not seeing in this picture, which is right here where we are. There are lots of mountains, the tallest mountains in the United States. All the water that flows to the east is in the eastern slope, and to the west, the western slope. And all of the water on the western slope flows out towards the Pacific Ocean, and all the water on the eastern slope flows out towards the Mississippi and the Gulf of Mexico. And so when we look at these pictures, these are whole watersheds connected by drainages. And these are the drainages in our town. So here we're near Vail, and this particular little blue line is called the Eagle River. This one's Gore Creek, and this is the Eagle River. And then over here in Breckenridge, where we were this morning, this is the Blue River, meeting up with the Colorado River that flows here and out of the state. But see, if you just took a half an hour drive over to Leadville, you would be at the top of the Arkansas River Basin, which flows out past Buena Vista, Salida, and out to the Front Range, Colorado Springs, Canyon City and Pueblo, and beyond. So what we want to appreciate in this kind of field experience is to open our eyes and see what is all around us. What we do in our individual communities reflects the entire landscape. And so contamination, agriculture, human use, these are all, or recreational use, these are all uses that we share because we all share this water. So one of the themes of the field trip is to think about stream order, because as we move through the campuses, we move from Breckenridge, which is the first order stream, down into the Eagle River, and if we continued to Glenwood and beyond, we would experience completely different riparian ecosystems. So how does this work? All these blue ones, these are creeks that are in the high country coming off of the Continental Divide. And then when first order streams meet each other, they become a second order stream. If a first order stream joins the second order stream, it's still second order. When two second order streams come together, it becomes third order. But again, second order and third order streams could join the third, and it's still a third order stream. When finally a third order stream meets a third order stream, you get to a fourth order stream, so on and so forth. So if you think about the little creeks in our towns versus the Mississippi River, this diagram is representing that. Now let's look at that in terms of our map of our high country. So the headwaters of the Blue River starts here in Blue River, Colorado, and the flows from Quandary Peak, a 14er here, service this wetland. And one thing I want you to notice here is, you can look at this foreground slope just to get an approximation of the slope. So very steep here, but here we have almost zero slope. So the landscape has dramatically changed. There's sedimentation here, soil development, and what you get is a riparian plant community. These are the wetland, the willow flats of Blue River. And as you travel just a couple more miles down, you get into town right next to campus. This is what the river looks like. So you're still in that riverine environment that is characterized by willows and a very small stream in comparison to what we'll look at next. I could just like throw a tennis ball across this stream, no problem. If it wasn't spring runoff, we could just walk across there. Here's our class yesterday along the river, and you can see also seasonal development. Here in the high country at 9,600 feet, the leaves are just starting to emerge. So let's look at a map. So those pictures we were just looking at, here's Quandary right here. Quandary, Lincoln, Bross, Democrat, and the water's flowing off of here. On this side of the pass, land in the Blue River Basin here, which is just upstream of Breckenridge. So notice that there are no streams coming into the Blue River. It is the first order stream. And then we continue down in the Swan, the Snake, Straight Creek, Willow Creek, Rock Creek. These are all first order streams coming right off the 10-mile range right here. And they're meeting up to the blue. But let's now go on to see what it looks like. So Edwards is here, and the Eagle River starts the East Fork and the South Fork here in the high country just on the south side of Leadville. This is Lake County here. And so the water's flowing. When the South Fork and the East Fork meet, the Eagle River is now a second order stream. And it stays a second order stream because the only thing meeting up with it through this Eagle Vale corridor are other first order streams. So let's see what that looks like in. So here's the Eagle River on March 29th during the spring field trip. And notice that there's no snow here. The vegetation is much taller. These are mostly cottonwoods. There are some willows along the edge. And this stream is much wider, higher velocity. And in the March 29th photo from Breckenridge, recall that this is what it looked like. It was totally snowy. So we've gone down 2,400 feet in elevation, and March 29th is springtime in Edwards. And now on summer solstice, June 21st, here's what the river looks like now. It's a raging river, and it is so large I could not throw a tennis ball across it. And you see here's the cottonwoods and the willows we were looking at before. And this is a second order stream. And now if you've ever been to the Mississippi River, it is so wide, so much even wider than this. So as these rivers traverse across the landscape to the east and western slopes, they get bigger, slower, more sedimented, travel through farmlands, etc. The Blue River in Google Maps on satellite. So right here is where I believe the river to start. I've been messing around with this since yesterday. I just got this idea. But let's zoom out, okay? So I was talking about the alpine wetlands, and that's this whole gray area, which is pretty low slope. But we're going to keep zooming out. Where did all this water come from? Okay. It came from these high peaks. These are the Democrat, Bross, Lincoln, Quandary Peak is right here. And so you can see we go from this really steep environment. And this environment here is not characterized by its slope actually, it's by its vegetation. Notice what you can see is that there's no vegetation. In the alpine life zone, there's very little water. Even though all the water falls there as snow, it is very windy there, and a lot of it sublimates, turns immediately into gas, or immediately flows high velocity down these slopes into the drainages that we're exploring on this field trip. So we go back here to Blue River and just zoom in to look at these low slope meadows. So the water is so slow, it is not even having a single path. It's just very sinuous. So these are the characteristics of primary order streams. But then if we look at the Eagle River, okay, we're coming down and zooming out. Where did the Eagle River come from? So first we can notice here that the mountains are not as tall, right? Some of these mountains are just in the subalpine. They're fully forested peaks, only in the subalpine. But as we continue to zoom out, we can see that alpine environment where there's no vegetation. So zooming back down, the Eagle River starts somewhere on the south side of Leadville, where we have another campus. And see, we keep going in, and we can see that we have that sinuosity that we had in the Blue River. It's still a bendy river. And as we keep going and going back down to Minturn, to Eagle Vale, now look at the river. It's much straighter, and it's collected all the water draining from these peaks into one higher order stream. Okay, so we'll go back here. So we're going to go outside right now, and we are going to collect our water sampling measurements in Breckenridge, or excuse me, in Edwards, and we'll catch up with you afterwards.